We have some emerging science coming on this. And as we proceed through, let me just take a very quick break to tell you about notes. Because you've got all the slides. Everything that I'm going to talk about today is written in excruciating detail. Are you with me? About half of you got this book in your packet. The other half will get it when the other box arrives today or tomorrow morning. Okay? Because there's just a whole lot more of you showed up than we thought might. So, and we're very excited about that. So you're going to get that. So the kind of Recovery Management 101 that I'm going through today, right here, all written. Take it home and in your spare time, read it. We also have a monograph we did on how do we link people coming out of addiction treatment to this growing diversity of communities of recovery in America. That monograph is completed, all available free for download. We'll give you an opportunity. Lynette and them, they'll talk tomorrow about where to access those. We're going to talk about how places have transformed who are involved in a recovery transformation process. We have another monograph where we interviewed all these leaders about how do you do that process. And all those interviews are available, again, free for download. Part of what I'm going to be doing, particularly this afternoon, is I'm going to run a lot of data at you and a lot of studies at you. I don't want anybody in this room to say, well, that's an interesting idea, but I don't know that there's any science that supports it. More than 600 scientific citations that basically lay out the scientific rationale for a redesign of addiction treatment called Recovery Management and Recovery-Oriented Systems of Care, Scientific Rationale and Promising Practices. We just hot off the press have a brand new monograph that's everything you ever wanted to know and didn't want to know about peer-based recovery support services. Its history, its theory, its science, and some of the pilots that are going on around the United States in terms of peer-based recovery support services in the addiction arena. Now, as part of that, and particularly this last one, we reviewed all the scientific studies that said, do recovery centers, do recovery clubs, do recovery cafes, do recovery employment sites, do recovery homes make a difference in terms of long-term recovery outcomes? Do they reduce relapse? Do they increase long-term recovery rates? Do they enhance the quality of life of individuals and families in long-term recovery? We have the beginnings of those studies that we've summarized in the monograph. The evidence to date is an overwhelming yes. And the place in particular, because we've had the most studies done on those, is in the recovery homes. Let me give you a difference. How many of you know people who've recycled multiple times through treatment? And they do treatment pretty good, right? No, I'm serious. I mean, they got treatment pretty well down at this point. They can give lectures actually better than the staff because they're more stable than the staff at this organization, given their turnover, right? My dear friend Don Coyas, who I'm going to show you a picture of in just a moment. Actually, let me just do that, and I'll come back and tell this story. Here's some images from the recovery advocacy movement in the United States. Buzz Aldrin, that we're all reading about this morning, right? Referenced this morning in terms of the incredible experience that he had, being one of the first people on the moon, later developed alcoholism, got in recovery. In 1976, Buzz Aldrin was one of 52 Americans, the first 52 Americans as a group that stepped forward and announced themselves in long-term recovery from alcoholism, sponsored by the National Council on Alcoholism. We had TV personalities, scientists, sports figures. It was an amazing day. 52 people. Last year we had 40,000 people, individuals and families, in long-term recovery, in recovery celebration events last September. Did everybody hear me? 40,000 people. You want to talk about a political and cultural awakening? What do you think it's like for some young person who's never known anybody in recovery, has lived he's at the tail end of 5 generations of devastation of addiction in his or her family tree, living in an environment where they've never known anybody in recovery. The first day they get carried to an event like this, and what they see is recovering people as far as the eyes can see, with their children, Are you with me? And with their partners and spouses. Families back together. Amazing, amazing stories coming out of these recovery celebration events. These are recovery advocates coming to Washington, D.C. to be trained as, for all practical purposes, sort of political lobbyists or advocates on very specific recovery-related social policy issues. We have posters that begin to confront people in recovery saying, by our silence we have let others define us. Do you agree with that? By our silence we have let others define us. We have created a world where judges only see those people who keep coming back to them. Where addiction counselors only see the clients that keep cycling back through again. And unless that counselor's in long-term recovery and is part of that recovery community, that counselor never sees the people in long-term recovery. How optimistic do you think that counselor is after about 5 years? Who sees the horrors of addiction every day coming through the front door and never sees the blessings of long-term recovery. And what this is about is to begin to recruit a vanguard of people in the United States to stand up and announce their presence in this culture as individuals and families in long-term recovery. We are the faces and voices of recovery, these kinds of campaigns. Let me go up one. These are particularly active, and what distinguishes these is this movement is very, very active in communities of color in the United States, particularly in African American and Native American communities. The person at the center of this sacred Wellbriety hoop, that's part of the Wellbriety movement across Native American tribes in North America, Don Coyes, here's how he describes addiction treatment. He said, what we do in addiction treatment is like what we would do if we had a sick and dying tree. We look at the tree, we try to do some things, and the tree just keeps getting sicker and sicker, and it's about dead. We dig it up out of the dirt, and we carry it way, way over here in some good soil, and dig our hole and put the tree in the hole, and we fertilize it, and we water it, give it lots of sun, talk to it every day, and what happens to that tree? Tree blossoms. We said the tree's well now. And we dig the tree up, and we come back over here, and then what? We're shocked. We're horrified that the tree now gets sick and dies again. That's a Native American metaphor for an acute care model of addiction treatment. What the Native American Wellbriety movement is saying is it's time we began to treat the soil in addition to the tree. Are you with me? So what we're talking about as we move through today, you're going to hear a shift in language. We're going to start shifting from talking about just treating individuals. We're going to be talking about treating families, treating neighborhoods. We're going to talk about treating communities and whole cultures. We're going to talk about the concept of community recovery in addition to individual recovery. Okay, let's move.